Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
Again, this is your host, Omobola Stephen. We are live on Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, and the show focuses on personal development and self-improvement, featuring guests and experts who are adept in the topics of personal development and self-improvement. Now, on today's show, I have Jerry Dugan, who is the CEO and senior consultant of BR Impact LLC. Welcome with me on Life Well Lived, Jerry Dugan.
Omobola, thanks for having me on here. I'm excited.
Excited to have you on the show once again, Jerry. Now, looking forward to what right time I'm going forward. Jerry will be talking more about personal development, which is the focus of the podcast episode. Now, is there anything like having parameters and meeting goals when it comes to achieving one's strengths without losing one's faith?
Yeah, it's something I've come across in my years of, serving in men's ministry, being a leader myself, that we pursue what we think is success. You go to school, you get these great grades, you get a certain type of degree, you get a certain type of career, and your career is only successful if you find yourself getting promoted into leadership roles, because that's when you make the big bucks, right? You've arrived when people call you boss and you're hiring and firing people. But then you find out that there's this expectation that you put in more time at the office, and people just start pouring into you this idea that there's a price to be paid for this success. You got to work longer hours than everybody else, show up first, leave last. You got to sacrifice yourself so that you can move ahead. And in the end, I've seen a lot of leaders go through that process, and they lose their faith, their purpose in life kind of just gets jaded, or their family relationship gets strained. My wife and I, we've got family members who did pursue that kind of success, whether it was monetary success, whether it was a 2-story house with a picket fence, the so-called American dream, or just to get that promotion to a point of status. And in the process of doing this, they kind of lost sight of the things that mattered most, and that was the family relationship. And so we've seen, uncles, we've seen friends lose their family because the family says, we don't know you and we don't have a connection with you, and we feel that you have other priorities that isn't us, so we're going to move on without you. And so now you've got this guy who probably started with all the intentions of providing the most for his or her family, but now is without the family that was the purpose behind it all in the first place. So Beyond the Rut and BTR Impact is about how do you succeed in your career or business and not lose your faith, don't lose your family, don't lose your health in the process. So have it all. And I've been reading a lot about, there's no such thing as work-life balance, or there's no such thing as balance. And I counter that and I say there is. It's having alignment. That's the balance we're talking about. And that's really what balance is. It's an alignment of weights so that everything is nice and even keeled. And when one of those weights gets more heavier than the other and it gets out of alignment, then things start to fall apart. So it's not a matter of about equal time and equal effort in each bucket of your life, but it's about having the fulcrum in the right place so everything's in alignment. So that's my big push for, finding success that makes sense for you and have your faith, your family, and your health in the process.
All right, good to know that. Now, what are some of the telltale signs that really proves to us that we are stuck in a rut? And that's some important shifts that we need to make in order to effect changes.
Yes. So you just kind of feel it in your gut. You wake up in the morning and you dread getting ready for work. That's probably the first thing. Like, oh man, it's Monday. I'd rather just go back to bed. It could be depression, and if so, you may want to see somebody about that for professional help. However, something to also consider is, why is it you dread getting up in the morning to go to work? You know, if you get paid well, if you're in a good position, it's the thing you've been pursuing your whole life. There could be a rut going on, maybe at the office, but maybe somewhere else. Maybe it's, you just look forward to the whole day and at your schedule. And it's not just work. It's, oh man, I've got all these family commitments as well. And you just feel overwhelmed. And you don't see an end in sight. And I think that's the biggest difference with feeling stuck in a rut, is that you're just automatically doing these things. You're getting up in the morning, you're dreading work, you're dreading the day. You don't see any difference, any change happening. This is just the way it is. So that almost surrender to a mediocre life, almost a surrender to, I'm never going to achieve my dreams. This is the life I've got. And that, in my opinion, is not the way to live. Our goal in life is not to get to the grave as safely as possible. Any one of us really wants to make an impact in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't mean we have to start a multi-billion-dollar company and get into headlines. The impact we may want to have is like mine. My own personal impact was just simply to be in a marriage that didn't end in divorce and have my kids connected with me in such a way that it gave me the opportunity to pour into them so that their lives would be better than mine, whatever that may be. Maybe they want to be doctors. They don't. Maybe they want to be artists. Great. How do I help them get there to succeed and have that all driven by themselves? So that's kind of the difference between being stuck in a rut and not, is that you wake up in the morning and you're excited when you're not in a rut. You look forward to changing things and making the world a better place when you're not stuck in a rut. But when you're stuck in a rut, it's just same old, same old. And there's no light. There's no hope. There's just, I got to go do this. And it's never going to change. And if that's where you are, then, good news is, if you want, there's an opportunity to change.
All right. And Jerry, Lily Pulitzer once said that happiness doesn't go out of style. My question to you is, what's your definition of happiness? What were you taught about happiness while you were growing up, or were that changes, about what you learned? What have you found out lately about happiness? And if happiness is truly temporal, like everyone says, so why should I choose happiness above other things?
Mm-hmm. And so it's that nebulous thing, right? Happiness. Like, I just want to be happy in life. And, we all want that. We all want to look back at life and say, yes, I enjoyed what I did. I felt good the whole time. Life is going to have its turmoils. It's going to have its challenges. However, we tend to think that, and we're taught this, that, if you just look at commercials, for example, commercials on television really play into our fears in our society. For men, it's being powerless. And so a lot of commercials are about, if you want to be happy as a man, you got to be powerful, you got to have strength. And so how do we market to you? We market to you with men who are chiseled and muscular. They're slender. They drive pickup trucks that climb up a mountain and just spray mud everywhere. If you want to be a cool guy, a cool man, it's all about the beer. And if you have beer, if you have our particular brand of beer, then these pretty women show up and they enjoy your company. And it's like all these weird mixed messages that we get on what happiness is. For women, it's makeup. If you want to look younger because your value is not being an old, experienced, lived person, your value apparently is being young and attractive to men. I don't like it. I've done my best to help my daughter see that her value is on the inside, not from the outside. But that is how we're marketed to. And so a lot of us seek happiness through external means. It's the paycheck. It's the job status. It's the car. It's the house. It's the makeup. It's the beer. It's the clothes we wear. None of that makes you happy because happiness really is an inside job. And happiness is being content with who you are and also desiring to be better than you were today. tomorrow to be better than you were today, today to be better than you were yesterday. So it's that balance or that fulcrum of I'm happy with who I am and where I am, and I want to make things even better. But that starts on the inside. And one example that always comes to mind is I remember a couple jobs ago, I'm traveling for work. A coworker of mine is on the same trip for different reasons on the other side of the trip. We've done our jobs. We're coming back to our hometown and our flight gets canceled. There's a thunderstorm. Flight is delayed initially, and then ultimately it's canceled, and we can't get on another flight until the next day. I see that situation, and I'd love to get home to my family. My coworker would love to get home to her family. And what I saw that as was, well, things could be worse. Yes, not optimal that I have my flight canceled. However, I have a flight for tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I'm going to be home before it's time to go to the office, and I get to go to the office later because of this delay. On top of that, my workplace has already put me up in a hotel, and it's paying for my transportation, dinner, and breakfast. This is great because I chose that. That's how I framed it in my mind. That's how I decided to look at the circumstances. And I was looking at the lines of people trying to reschedule. And so many people were looking at it as, woe is me, this sucks, I can't believe this is happening to me. And I'm thinking, if they just looked up and looked around, they'd realize this is happening to everybody. There are multiple flights getting canceled. There are thousands of us stranded for the night. My coworker, that's all I heard her talk about the entire time. Everything was exactly the same. Same flight canceled, same flight the next day, same hotel, same transportation to the hotel, all the same things. What I had to experience on the way to the hotel, though, was her complaining the whole time that this happens on every trip. She's not sure she's going to get her luggage back. All the things. And what if we get to the airport tomorrow and it doesn't come back online and we're stuck again? And I'm thinking, wow, we're going through exactly the same thing. We're seeing it in two completely different ways. And it just reminded me of a book called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor. Have you read that? Oh man, I recommend that book. Sean Achor, he's a positive psychologist, and he talks about how, same thing I'm saying, happiness is an inside job. You choose that happiness, and then success kind of comes to you. People are drawn to your happiness. People are drawn to your positivity. And because of that, you show up a different way. You show up interacting with everybody in a way that's encouraging and trusting. People are willing to do things to get your job done, to get your goals met, because you already showed up happy. And it's kind of like law of attraction, but different. It's just the way you show up. I'm showing up happy. I'm showing up joyful. I'm showing up confident, with a positive outlook. And that's allowing me to connect with people. And because of those connections, people are doing things to help me move my needle forward. And I'm doing the same thing for them. And so like everybody's ships are rising with the high tide. All that to say, that's why I'm a big fan of happiness starting from the inside, happiness being a choice. It is an inside job. I just wrote in my journal this morning. It's really not my journal. It's a notebook I'm writing for my daughter. She's 19. She's going to turn 20. Short version is her church had done this, like, let's write affirmations in this notebook and hand it to somebody. Well, a few people wrote some affirmations, handed it to her, and I thought, what if I just filled out the whole notebook for her and filled it with affirmations and gave that to her? And this morning I wrote about how happiness is an inside job, and that I see that in her, that she has a lot of things that have gone for her the wrong way, and she chooses happiness and just makes the best of it and is making the best of it. It's just, you can go through hell, and if you choose happiness, not a Pollyanna, all things are rosy, but just sort of accept the situation, see the silver lining, and go make the best of it, you're going to come out better than somebody who just takes the victim mentality and embraces that instead. One of you will move forward, the other will not.
Jerry, what are we getting wrong about resilience? Now, I have other two questions in one. What makes some people more resilient than the others? And now, why is it very important for us to be able to bounce back when it may not even seem that easy? Talking about resilience.
Yeah, same thing. And, happiness being a choice and resiliency both really go hand in hand. Um, it's you got the victim mentality, the one who feels and believes that life happens to them. And then you have those that have that growth mindset that firmly believe that, yeah, things happen in life, but I'm happening to those things. Or I can take those things that have happened to me and leverage it so that those things are happening for me. And, similar to that story about, being delayed on that flight, if I go back many years when I was 11 years old, my brother was 9 years old, my parents divorced at that young age for us, and we stayed with my dad. And what we did not expect was that my dad started having suicidal ideations and was starting to act out, and we would catch him in time. So here we are at 9 and 11 years old, stopping my dad from dying and preventing suicide. And sadly, we had one of two ways to go from this kind of thing. Like kids who go through divorce, kids who go through a traumatic event like this, either choose to bounce back or they succumb to what most kids do, and that's drugs, alcohol, promiscuous sex, high risk behaviors type of thing. And my brother sadly went down that path for a while. I, on the other hand, just thought, you know what, there's got to be more to life than just divorce and sadness and woe is me. Because I'm looking around and I see what my friends are doing, and they have hope for a better future. They're striving for college. Their parents are still married. They have happy, healthy family relationships. It's possible. And I just got to choose that for myself. And it's weird. Resiliency kind of starts with that choice. I'm going to get up today. I'm going to take one step. Yeah, today sucked or yesterday sucked, but I'm going to get up. I'm going to take one step. I don't know if the Army helped ingrain that even more in me, because I remember in the early weeks of basic training, we're all dog tired. A drill sergeant walked in, and we're all supposed to stand up, yell at ease, and be at a position called parade rest. And it's 4 a.m. And I remember I was still sitting in my bed, just kind of like, woe is me, like, oh man, this sucks. Why did I join the Army? Well, that drill sergeant saw me because I was only 20 feet away from him. And he marches right up to my face. And I realize what's happening. I finally stand up, get to parade rest, because I realize everybody else is in that position except me. And he's like, are you too good to get to parade rest? What's wrong with you? And I said, I'm just tired, drill sergeant. And he said, so what? Look around you. Everybody else is too. What makes you special? And I was like, oh. And they're all looking at me like, you see the eyes kind of like, everybody's looking at each other, but heads and eyes are sorted to the front. And I realized, who am I to feel entitled to feel sorry for myself? And that was the message he was having for me, was, who are you to feel entitled that you can feel sorry for yourself when everybody else got up to their feet and overcame it and made that choice to not feel sorry for themselves? And I said, thank you, Drill Sergeant. I'll never do that again. And he stormed off. He said some other things that I cannot say on the air, but the message was made that, who are we to feel entitled to feel sorry for ourselves? And then who do I really hurt by feeling sorry for myself? I don't hurt Omobola. I don't hurt my boss that I used to have. I don't hurt anybody by feeling sorry for myself except myself, unless other people are counting on me. And so resiliency, it is very important to get back up. Choose that happiness, choose to get back up. There's a book that's on my list to read this year. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. Thomas Edison apparently failed at making the light bulb 999 times. Got it on the 1,000th time, and here you and I are surrounded by light bulbs now. It's just, there is power in getting back up and taking another step, learning from mistakes, and just choosing that I'm going to make the best of what just happened. And for me, it's worked in my life. I've gone from having no hope in life at 11 years old to, since 14 years old, striving to be a better me every single day, really, so that my kids have a better life than I did, and know nothing else, but at least understand where I came from. And my hope is that their kids are better than them. And in the end, somebody asked me once, what does success look like for your life, Jerry? And I was like, I'm never going to see it because I'll be dead. So what I'm striving for is my grandchildren and great grandchildren to essentially break a family tree tradition of victim mentality. And if I could do that, that is my intent. That's my purpose in life. If any of my kids want to take on that mantle and carry it on, or grandkids, go for it. But I'm doing my part, my mission, and it's just worth going after. And that's my version of success that I'm going after.
Thank you once again, Jerry Dugan, for your insight on today's show. Now, one of the major topic highlights is servant leadership. Now, let's talk about servant leadership as a way of life. How can I apply as a person now to the audience of Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen? How can we apply servant leadership, in our daily lives?
Nice. Now, there are folks who hear servant leadership and they automatically think I'm talking about Jesus Christ, that he had his disciples, he's supposed to be the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, all those things. And so essentially, Jesus was entitled to be served by his disciples. And there's a famous passage of scripture. I don't know if it's famous to everybody else, but it's in my head. It lives there rent free. And that's where he kind of takes his robe off, ties it around his waist, and he gets to the feet of his disciples and he washes their feet. That's a huge thing, because essentially he is saying, I am beneath your feet. I am cleaning your feet. I am doing a thing that servants do for their leaders, their masters. And here he is. He's the leader, and he's doing that for the people who are following him. And then he gets up and he says, now do that for each other. Do that for do that for each other. And so there's this call to serve each other as leaders. And it's just, that's one example. But before I even became a Christian, I got an example of servant leadership when I was in the U.S. Army. That every sergeant I worked for who was worth his or her weight in gold always made sure that I ate first. So if we went to breakfast, if we went to lunch, dinner, didn't matter. My leader would always make sure that I was fed. Dugan, have you gone to the chow hall yet? Have you had your meal? No? All right, go get lunch, come back, relieve me, and then I'll go get food. And it's like, no, Sergeant, you go ahead. You've gone all day. And it's like, no, that's my choice. My job is to make sure you get fed. And then we'd have these arguments, especially my first sergeant, my first leader, because he was also my best friend in Germany. He wound up having to put me in a push-up position because I was arguing with him in front of other people. And he said, Dugan, it's lunchtime. We're at work. I'm your boss. I just told you go eat first. You go eat first. And I was like, you got it. And then he explained to me later on, it's because if my soldiers are taken care of, their basic needs are met, their sense of belonging and feeling safe are met, soldiers will do the mission. They'll take care of the people who need to be taken care of. They'll just do the things that need to be done. And so by serving others, you meet somebody's needs, but you also build trust that you as a leader, you as a person, as a friend, as a neighbor, you have somebody else's best interest in mind when you're taking on a servant leadership type of approach. There's a group called the Arbinger Institute, and they wrote a book called The Outward Mindset. And it even gives you this diagram and questions to ask yourself to make sure that you're thinking about your customer, you're thinking about your coworkers, your employees, and yourself. Yeah, and so you're outwardly serving others. And by doing that, you're finding success for yourself as well. So it's, so we're tying that all together. You're choosing to be happy. You're choosing to get back up after a fall, and you're choosing to help other people succeed. All that comes back together to help you succeed in your career and your faith and your family.
All right, that's some top work you got here, Jerry. Talking about, being a leader and also assuming the position of a servant, tough one indeed, but I think that that's what life is about, right? Taking the humility part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you once again, Jerry Dugan, for your time. Jerry, do you have exciting news you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes.
Any project in the pipeline?
So from the time we're recording this, by the end of February, early March, I am launching a new book, there we go. It's called Beyond the Rut, Create a Life Worth Living in Your Faith, Your Family, and Career. It's essentially the manifesto of Beyond the Rut, my podcast, and it covers the things we've talked about. What do you do when you're stuck in a rut? How do you recognize the rut you're in, understand where you want to go, and then take action to get there? And it ties back together all these concepts about the 5 F's, and servant leadership and just getting back up and having resilience and then choosing happiness. All that is in a short little book that's like 100. I just got the formatting back, and so I'm excited. It's like 124 pages, very quick read. So I recommend you go out to Amazon and get it when it comes out.
Absolutely. Wish you best of luck in the project and also in all your future endeavors, Jerry.
Thank you, Omobola.
Yeah, Jerry, do you have any parting words you'd like to share?
Oh man, it's my catchphrase. Life
Hmm.
is just too short to live it stuck in a rut.
That's right.
That's
That's
it.
right. Absolutely. Your social media and so your website.
All right. So I'll go backwards. My websites, I've got two of them. If you are interested in the podcast Beyond the Rut, just go to beyondtherut.com. If you're interested in hiring me to speak at your organization or lead a workshop on servant leadership, communication skills, go to btrimpact.com. It's Beyond the Rut Impact, so BTR. And then my social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm more active on LinkedIn. Just look up Jerry Dugan, JerryDugan.
I'll go look for you.
Awesome.
All right. It's a pleasure once again, Jerry.
Same here, Omobola. Thank you for having me on here.
All right. Now, if you want to catch up with any missed episodes of Life Well Lived with Omobola Stephen, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or any podcast distribution platforms you bump into. And you have an amazing time listening to the show. Like if you will want to be a guest on the show, you like to offer disruptive management conversations to the audience of Life Well Lived, you can do so by sending a mail to me, omobolastephen.o@outlook.com or connect@omobolastephen.com. I'll be looking forward to your mail and having you guest on the show. Come on, we can have a great show together and be the change that the world is waiting for. Till I come your way, I need you to be good. Talk to you soon.